How far does one go to prove themselves? There always exists individuals with great strength and conviction that wish nothing more than to simply be acknowledged by the people. Such is the case for one of the greatest onmyouji of the Heian era, the inhuman human who took Heian's strongest spellcaster, Abe-No-Seimei, as his opponent. His name is Ashiya Douman. So it goes that Douman was but a humble onmyouji serving within Kyo. Skilled in onmyodo and Taoist arts, he worked to defend the people from malevolent spirits and oni who would appear with the moonrise. Despite his display of talent, he earned nothing but ire and scorn from the people of the ancient capital. Being seen as a villain and unable to capture the hearts of the people like Lord Abe-No-Seimei, constantly playing second fiddle. Despite this, Douman continued to work diligently in order to surpass Seimei. However, it all came crashing down in a chance encounter, one only enabled by the machinations of the alien god, when a devilish apostle uttered a phrase that shattered Douman's spirit entirely. "You will never surpass Seimei." All of his efforts ultimately resulted in nothing. He could never be as beloved, as proficient, as revered as Seimei. So why bother? Why play the same game when he could be more? A hero who protected the people was the role of Seimei. In order to overcome him, he would be his opposite, an anti-hero who existed to cause harm. He would become a villain who embodied the very nature of evil itself. With this feeling inside him, with this desire, it grew into a conviction which would be recognized by a celestial being and fashioned into a tool for destruction. From this ideal, Limbo would be born, an alter ego serving the alien god, infused with spirits exemplifying villainy. Itzpapalotl, the Aztec goddess of darkness, Chernobog, the black god of chaos, and the demonic minister of the left, Akryo-Safu. In order to fulfill his role as a villain, he would cause hell to manifest on Earth. His first attempt was in Shimosa, through the creation of the heroic spirit swordmasters, demons made to lay waste to everything in sight, reanimating a wooden doll to place his opponents in jeopardy, and even taking the name Abe-No-Seimei in order to besmirch the name of his hated rival. However, he was stopped by the efforts of Chaldea and the flower at the apex of heaven. Unbeknownst to Chaldea, the saint graph they had destroyed in Shimosa was a falsehood, with his true body hidden away elsewhere. Shimosa was simply a testing ground for the monk, and so he faced Chaldea again, in the Indian Lost Belt, serving as counsel to the final dark god, while simultaneously trying to end his world. Much like his previous attempt, he was disposed of, and then retreated to Olympus, where his immortality would dissipate at the hands of Peperoncino Scandinavia, as retaliation for tampering with his Lost Belt. This was it. Limbo was at his final life. One more attempt to create the visage of hell he sought, to become a villain that was feared and known by all, something that would make even the planet itself shiver in terror. And where better to do this than the capital that Seimei once called home? All the people he protected would be slaughtered, whilst Douman watched with euphoria. Under the guise of a ritual proposed by Seimei, Limbo enacted his scheme. The Imperial Holy Grail War that promised to deliver a millennia of peace to Kyo was in fact a huge farce, brought to light by the Master of Chaldea and the warriors of the Genji. With his ruse seen through, Limbo was given no choice but to take matters into his own hands. He took the title of Oban Ashiya Douman, the leader of the Hasojin, the general gods of Onmyodo. Drenching the moon in crimson red, he tore the world asunder and brought down the roots of cosmic fantasy, striking terror into the hearts of the people of Heian. This was his Naraka Mandala, his circle of hell. Using his authority as the Grail War's overseer, he summoned heroic spirits and inscribed the souls of the Onmyodo general gods to be absorbed into the Naraka Mandala. But once more, through the efforts of Chaldea, the Genji, and talismans provided by Seimei himself, the villain's plan was disrupted. But not in its entirety. Limbo had summoned a god, one of the heads of Yamata no Orochi, the dragon god of disaster, Ibuki Doji, the physical embodiment of nature itself, and an old malevolent god, forcing the heroes to their knees. But with the strength of Sakata Kintoki, they fought back, whilst the villain sacrificed his gifted divinities, as well as a fragment of himself, in order for his twisted roots fantasy to bloom. A singularity and lost belt, all in one. This was the gateway to hell itself. Unable to vanquish the Dragon of Calamity, the heroes watch as she ventures towards the Tree of Fantasy. Oban Ashiya Douman welcomes her to the Naraka Mandala with the intention to make her a beast, one of the evils of humanity. However, what better way to become a despicable villain than to become an enemy to humanity itself? When Ibuki Doji's back is turned, he launches a strike, absorbing her into the Naraka Mandala and ascending into his ultimate form, vowing to become the pinnacle of all the evils of humanity, becoming Naraka Mandala Skull Eboshi Ashiya Douman. But nothing happens. His absorption is successful. He is bursting with magical energy. However, he has not reached beasthood. In the midst of his confusion and bewilderment, a letter arrives from Abe-No-Seimei. He explains why his scheme didn't work, and why it never could. A monster with no love for humanity could never become a beast. They are trials for humanity to conquer, not the other way around. The realization comes crashing down on Limbo. But then forget becoming a beast. He will simply ascend to become something stronger, something more wretched than a beast could ever be, and bring destruction to the entire world with his own hands. Rakshasa King Skull Eboshi Ashiya Douman has no limits. But for every villain, there is a hero. One who upholds the ideals of truth and justice. In this story, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And that light is golden. Whilst Limbo had been enacting his schemes, Sakata Kintoki of Raiko's 4 heavenly kings had been finding his path. That being the path of a hero. For the sake of everyone living their ordinary lives, for the uneventful everyday, he will fight. Following the path of justice, he summons the Setsu armor, golden thunder enshrouding the steel adorned in crimson, putting on such an amusing display that the serpent goddess herself laughs, granting him the divine blade Kusanagi, originally drawn from the corpse of Yamato no Orochi itself, to strike down the vile wretch. This is the final battle, simply one of good overcoming evil. A thunderous flash, the combined might of the Genji, the Oni of Mount Ue, and the faction of Chaldea, all their cumulative efforts seek to bring down the villain. He congratulates his enemies, whilst hatching a last-ditch effort in his mind, his final trump card. the final blow is delivered by the wooden puppet restored by Limbo himself, using a forbidden technique that was previously unused due to being too adept at slaughter. The villain has fallen, and good has triumphed over evil. But this is not where our tale ends. The question still remains. Who truly was Ashiya Douman? Douman was a man who simply wanted to be recognized. A man filled with several doubts and insecurities, which is why he could manipulate people like Amakusa Shiro and Arjuna Alter, men who had been burdened by the expectations of those around them. They were relied on by people to be leaders and heroes, and Douman was relied on to be a villain that the people despised. Douman understood precisely what fueled their ambitions and how to twist it to further his schemes, and it was playing the role of the villain that made the alien god view him as a suitable host for the gods Chernobog and Itzpapalotl. However, gods are shaped by the collective belief of humanity, and humanity needed divine spirits that embodied the role of evil, which led to their creation. They were simply a cog in the machine, made to fill out a purpose, much like Douman himself. Douman needs to play this role. To become a grand villain, this leads him so far as to constantly elevate himself. Throughout Heian Kyo, his title constantly changes as he gains even more power, constantly running away from the name Ashiya Douman, as it is a reminder of what he will always be, a foil to Seimei. But this ideal is simply hollow. It is not a true conviction. A false belief that was born from constantly being shunned and in the shadow of Seimei, denying his own brilliance. Every time a scheme failed, Douman would simply move on to the next, with no concern over his failings, as he was simply set on attaining substance with no care of what it was. It is why it makes him a perfect fit to be a servant to Sakata Kintoki. Both men without a true dream. However, the difference between them is at the end, Kintoki finds his reason to fight, and it is to stop evil. And yet, another question emerges. Was Ashiya Douman truly evil? After the dust has settled, and the battle is won, a lone figure stands atop Mount Arashi, looking down at Heian Kyo. An emotionally torn man breaks down and begins to weep. This man is Ashiya Douman, no longer Limbo, but a simple onmyouji. Feeling devastated about what he has just done, about attempting to bring an end to everything, he tries to end his own life. If this is what the future holds for him, it is not a future he wants to see. But he is stopped by a voice. Another figure stands beside him. The greatest onmyouji of the Heian era, Abe-No-Seimei. Such a suicide would be pointless after he has learned so much and come so far. He gives him a gentle guiding hand and admonishes Douman for his greatest flaw. Now to you, viewer, I leave you with this. Is Douman an evil person because that is what the world expects him to be? Is he evil because he is an evil person? And in a different world, with different circumstances, could he have changed? These are the questions that form the core of Ashiya Douman, rival to Abe-No-Seimei. Thank you very much for watching this video on Ashiya Douman. This was actually my first time writing a script, and I got a lot of help from Karth, so very much thanks for that. And, as always, I will see you at the next manifestation, where hope and despair gather once more.